Welcome to Hollywood Latest Report. The evangelical world has once again been shaken by deeply emotional news. Only weeks after mourning the passing of Pastor John MacArthur, his beloved wife, Patricia MacArthur, has reportedly been rushed to the intensive care unit ICU following a sudden health scare. Supporters, church members, and Christian leaders across the globe are now sending an outpouring of prayers for the woman who stood faithfully beside one of America's most influential preachers for nearly 6 decades. A shocking turn after John MacArthur's passing. The timing of Patricia's health emergency has intensified emotions. John MacArthur, who passed away earlier this year at the age of 86, was a towering figure in evangelical Christianity. His sermons, books, and leadership at Grace Community Church in California left a global impact on millions of believers. For his wife, Patricia, who shared his ministry journey for over 60 years, life without him was already a painful transition. Friends describe her as resilient, graceful, and deeply grounded in her faith. Yet now news of her sudden ICU hospitalization has left many wondering if grief, stress, and age have taken a toll on her health. Patricia's legacy beside John MacArthur. Though John MacArthur's name often stood in the spotlight, Patricia played a vital role behind the scenes. The couple married in 1963, building a family of 4 children, 15 grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren. For decades, Patricia remained a quiet but powerful support system, embodying the biblical model of a faithful partner. Her voice was rarely public, yet those close to the family know she was a spiritual rock at home. John himself once said in an interview that Patricia's wisdom, love, and endurance gave him the strength to continue his ministry even during difficult seasons. Past health struggles. This is not the first time Patricia has faced health challenges. Years ago, she was involved in a serious car accident that left her with fractures in her neck, face, and shoulder. Recovery was long and painful, but she emerged with remarkable courage. In an interview reflecting on that period, Patricia admitted she still experiences occasional numbness and fatigue, but has always chosen to endure it without complaint. Her strength became a testimony to many who looked up to her as an example of Christian perseverance. The current ICU scare. Reports suggest that Patricia was suddenly taken to the ICU after experiencing unexpected complications. While details remain limited, church members close to the family have confirmed that doctors are closely monitoring her condition. The Grace Community Church community has requested privacy for the MacArthur family, while also encouraging believers worldwide to lift Patricia in prayer during this difficult time. For many, the thought of losing Patricia so soon after John's passing feels unbearable. One church member described the situation in simple but emotional words. "We have just said goodbye to Pastor MacArthur. The idea that we might lose Patricia now is almost too much to process. We are praying without ceasing." As soon as news broke about Patricia's hospitalization, social media platforms were flooded with messages of support. Hashtags like #PrayForPatricia and #MacArthurFamily quickly began trending among Christian communities. Pastors and ministry leaders from around the world have also expressed solidarity. Franklin Graham, son of the late Billy Graham, reportedly asked his followers to remember Patricia in prayer, calling her a woman of quiet strength who carried a great spiritual legacy alongside her husband. Several evangelical seminaries that collaborated with John MacArthur during his lifetime issued statements encouraging students and alumni to intercede for the MacArthur family. Ordinary church members, many of whom were shaped by John's sermons, have shared touching stories online about how Patricia's life and testimony influenced them indirectly. The family's silence and hope. As of now, the MacArthur family has not released an official statement beyond confirming Patricia's ICU admission. Sources close to the family indicate that they are deeply emotional and focused on her care. One close friend of the family mentioned that Patricia herself, even in difficult times, has always insisted on trusting God's sovereignty. Patricia often said that nothing in life happens outside of God's plan. She would want us to pray, not panic. Why this matters to millions. For many believers, Patricia MacArthur represents more than just the widow of a famous preacher. She symbolizes the quiet strength, loyalty, and faith that underpin Christian families. Her health struggle feels personal to countless people who followed the MacArthur's ministry. The thought of losing both John and Patricia in such a short span has added urgency to prayers. Across churches on Sunday mornings, Patricia's name has been lifted up during intercessory prayers. Looking back, a life of faith and devotion. Patricia's story is not one of fame or the pulpit, but of consistency, humility, and devotion. She raised her children in the faith, supported her husband's worldwide ministry, and modeled what it means to live out quiet faithfulness. As believers reflect on her life during this health scare, many see in her a reminder that Christian influence is not always about public recognition. It is also about steadfast love, resilience, and unwavering faith in Christ. A call for prayer. At this critical moment, the MacArthur family's request is simple: prayers for Patricia. While doctors and nurses do their work in the ICU, believers are being urged to do theirs on their knees. The Bible verse that many supporters are sharing online is Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Conclusion. The evangelical community is in collective grief and concern. With John MacArthur gone, the possibility of Patricia facing her own critical battle feels like another blow. Yet amid the fear, the global church is rallying together in prayer, believing that God is still sovereign over life and health. Whether Patricia recovers fully or continues to struggle, her life has already left a legacy of faith, resilience, and unwavering devotion. For now, the call is clear: pray for Patricia MacArthur. The news of Patricia MacArthur's sudden ICU admission has continued to reverberate across Christian circles worldwide. In the days since her health scare was first reported, waves of prayer, reflection, and emotional responses have poured in, showing just how deeply the MacArthur family is loved and respected. For many, this moment is more than just a health update. It is a reminder of faith under trial, the fragility of life, and the powerful influence of one woman who has quietly shaped countless lives through her steadfast devotion. Patricia's role in the MacArthur legacy. To understand why the world is reacting so strongly to Patricia's condition, it is important to reflect on the broader MacArthur legacy. For more than half a century, John MacArthur stood as a prominent figure in global evangelicalism. His expository preaching, commitment to biblical authority, and leadership of Grace Community Church and the Master's Seminary shaped a generation of pastors and believers. But behind every sermon, book, and leadership decision was Patricia. Unlike her husband, Patricia never sought the spotlight, yet her unseen influence was immeasurable. Those who knew her personally describe her as a counselor to many women in the church, offering biblical guidance on marriage and family, a pillar of encouragement to her husband during seasons of criticism and controversy, a tireless mother and grandmother, ensuring her family remained grounded despite the demands of public ministry. Her presence was steady, unwavering, and filled with grace. As one longtime church member put it, Pastor John preached to the world, but Patricia pastored the pastor. The emotional weight of loss and sickness. The timing of Patricia's health scare is particularly difficult for the MacArthur family. Only recently, they said a final goodbye to John, whose passing at 86 marked the end of an era in evangelical leadership. The grief of losing him is still fresh for Patricia and her children. Now, with Patricia in ICU, the family faces yet another emotional battle. Psychologists often point out that grief and stress can have profound physical effects on the elderly, weakening their immune systems and intensifying health risks. Friends of the family worry that the weight of sorrow over losing her husband, combined with the physical demands of aging, may have contributed to Patricia's sudden health crisis. Memories from the congregation. As news spread, many at Grace Community Church began sharing memories of Patricia. Some recalled her gentle smile in the church lobby, others remembered her personal encouragement during their own family struggles. One church elder shared a story that highlights Patricia's quiet generosity. Years ago, when my wife was bedridden after surgery, Patricia came to our house with meals and prayed with us. Nobody ever heard about it. She wasn't doing it for recognition, that's just who she is. These personal testimonies reveal why Patricia's hospitalization feels so personal to the community. She was never just the pastor's wife, she was a spiritual mother to many. The broader Christian world reacts. The MacArthur's influence was never confined to California. Through John's global ministry, Patricia's life touched people on every continent. As such, international reactions to her ICU admission have been overwhelming. Churches in Africa have held prayer vigils, recognizing John MacArthur's role in strengthening biblical teaching on the continent. Asian seminaries have posted tributes, recalling how Patricia often hosted visiting students and missionaries with warmth and hospitality. Latin American pastors have shared emotional messages online, saying that Patricia's life is an example of godly endurance for pastors' wives everywhere. One Brazilian pastor summed it up powerfully. Without Patricia, John MacArthur's ministry would not have been what it was. Her faithfulness strengthened him, and her story strengthens us. The silence of the family. The MacArthur family has chosen to remain largely silent, focusing on Patricia's medical care. This silence, while difficult for the public, reflects the family's desire for privacy in a moment of vulnerability. Still, sources close to them assure supporters that their faith is strong. One relative noted, "Patricia has always believed that life and death are in God's hands. She isn't afraid, she just wants to glorify God with whatever time she has left." This perspective has brought comfort to many who are anxiously following updates. Hope amid uncertainty. Despite the gravity of ICU hospitalization, hope remains. Patricia's history of resilience, from surviving her accident years ago to supporting her husband through decades of ministry challenges, has convinced many that she is stronger than she appears. Doctors are reportedly doing everything possible, and while outcomes remain uncertain, family members insist that Patricia's faith and determination are intact. For the faithful, this hope is not only medical but spiritual. Believers are clinging to promises such as Psalm 7:3-26, "My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." Lessons from Patricia's life. Even as the world waits for updates, Patricia's situation has prompted reflection. Pastors and church members alike are drawing lessons from her life. Faithfulness in marriage. Patricia exemplified loyalty to her husband, showing that behind every great ministry is a supportive partner. Strength in trials. Her accident and recovery years ago are a testimony of perseverance. Quiet influence. She never sought fame, yet her influence stretched worldwide. Endurance in grief. Walking through John's passing has displayed courage, even as she now faces her own health crisis. The ripple effect of her ICU battle. Patricia's hospitalization has unexpectedly unified people across denominational lines. Christians who may disagree on theology are putting aside differences to pray for her recovery. Some commentators note that this unity reflects the power of suffering to bring people together. In a world divided by politics and theological disputes,